Hello there, I'm Gary, welcome to my channel and welcome back if you've been here before. Today is Figure Friday. Today's show is the first of a two-parter making an artillery battery from the Army of Spain in the Peninsular War. This week I'm doing the limber and team, next week I'll be doing the deployed guns with their crew. Now remember, if you like the video then please do remember to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. It doesn't cost anything, you can do it by clicking on that small logo down there in the bottom right corner. If you'd like to support future productions you can do that through Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee. Links to both of those are in the information box below. Enough of all that, let's get on and make our Spanish artillery battery. The figures I'm using come from the 18mm range from AB Figures, designed by Tony Barton. Here I'm using an 8-pound cannon. It will be drawn by a 6-horse team. First thing I'm doing is cleaning the wheels of the limber of any moulding lines. Then I can glue the wheels to the limber with some cyanoacrylate superglue. Here you can see how the gun will sit with the limber. The horse team has 6 figures, 3 with mounted artillerymen. The rear pair of horses have a kind of basket of straps over their hindquarters. This is because they are essentially the brakes. After giving the pieces a coat of black primer, first thing I'm going to do is a wash of brown over the horses. This looks a lot lighter and thicker than it actually is. It's a mahogany colour that's let down with some water. It will dry quite dark. While I've got the mahogany, I'll also dry brush that over the limber and the gun. I'm going to go for the older plain wood look. Later pieces in the Spanish Army would have been painted a pale blue-grey colour. When the base coat is dry, I'm going to lay a very thin coat of burnt sienna oil colour over the horses. This dulls down the brown but adds a kind of sheen that I think looks quite good. Then I add some black to the mahogany and paint in the tails and the manes of the horses. Next, some off-white. This gets painted onto the faces of the horses. Don't make them all the same. Some of the horses can have white socks too. Just mix and match as you feel. After that is a leather brown which goes over the yokes of the horses. Again, this looks quite bright, but it isn't really as bad as all that, and it will get dulled down later. The riders get a coat of blue all over, and then I'm adding an off-white to the sheepskin on their saddles. Then some black for their boots and on the horses' hooves. Now, all the straps of the leatherwork are in black. This will take some time, just work your way around, there is a lot of it. Don't forget the nose strap, as this helps the look enormously. My next job is to paint in the chains with a gunmetal colour. Now if you're a really devoted modeller, you might try to fit some micro chain to the rig, but I'm not. The riders have red collars and cuffs to their blue uniforms. Then I'll add some brown hair. Everyone has the same hair in my army. The cross belts are in white for the cartridge box and for the sword, back and front. Next I'll add some grey to the saddle box and the blanket, and when that's done, some black straps over that. A quick touch of flesh for the faces and hands and a splash of red for the plume. Then we can get blinged up with some brass on the sword handle and on the end of the scabbard. And I'm using brass too for the metal work of the bridles. After that, a bit of steel to suggest the stirrups. The rider's bicorns had a trim of yellow lace that certainly adds a splash of colour. With all that done, I'm going to paint all the metal work of the gun carriage in black. then a quick splash of mahogany as a highlight on the lighter areas. The same for the limber too. And the gun barrel itself is going to be painted in gunmetal grey. And as a last touch, I'm going to add a detail wash to everything. Now to mount the pieces, I've cut some plastic sheet into a 25 by 120mm rectangle, and I'm just marking out where the pieces will sit to make sure they all fit in place. Then I'll use a 2-part metal epoxy to glue everything on. And there is the limber and the team all painted. All I have to do now is do the base. I'm taking the gun off now as it is going to be loose. It gets removed in the game to show that the battery's been deployed. I'm using the Vallejo Brown Earth for the base texture, a pre-mixed acrylic based and water soluble gunk that goes on with a spatula or a stick. When it's on, you can use a wet brush to move bits about, create shapes and textures and so on. Leave it to dry for at least an hour. Then I can add some flock and some maybe scenic rocks to make it all look like used terrain. I like the rutted look, as if a lot of guns have come this way already. That's the limber and team done. How simple was that? All I need now are some guns and some gunners to service them. That's the subject of next week's video. Now if you've enjoyed it this week, please do remember to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. It doesn't cost anything. You can do it by clicking on the logo down there in the bottom right corner. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.